Hello and welcome again back to another Indiepocalypse Radio. We're on a hot streak for once before I go on another break, which I'm going on next weekend because I have another endless events. We are here with a duo of guests from the general world of games and from Indiepocalypse, as these things tend to be. I'm Andrew. I'm the host of the aforementioned Indiepocalypse Radio, your radio companion to Indiepocalypse, the alternative anthology, ongoing monthly thing that keeps on going, never stops going. We are here with our first guest, whose extended internet handle Twitch did not let me put on the thing. It yelled at me.
Yeah.
It's like, are you sure this doesn't violate our guidelines? And I go, I don't think so, but I'll shorten it to HP, longer ways on the internet as Holesome Pervert. Hello.
Hi. Hey, Andrew. How's it going?
Hi, going good. Because I got all fancy with your title, I forgot to say, of the game Gooning Simulator, I should say.
Thank you. Yeah.
I missed it in my wind-up because I took a detour.
Totally. I mean, listen, and yeah, like I definitely know that siren song, if issues.
Yes.
I currently, I've never been able to update our Discord server because, I want to change, the description.
Yes.
But it basically says, oh, well, there's some violation of, your description is, not in our rules. And it's like, okay, it's the name of the server. Well,
right.
I'm not going to change that. So
right.
I guess I will just never touch the server description.
Everyone in the UK has to go through 30 VPNs in order to join your Discord server now. Or whatever their rules are for all these.
Yeah.
Truly the belief that games are we need no better evidence that games are truly an immature medium than the fact that the recent adult clampdown,
Oh my god.
on content that exists in all forms of media that are not video games you can buy in regular stores, no problem.
Mm-hmm. And it's just, I mean, it's off the coattails of the 2000s. I don't want to call it the war against games. That's so crazy. But
yes.
Just the blaming of Columbine and all this stuff. You
right.
know, the Call of Duties and Grand Theft Autos being lumped into how people perceive games in general as these violent rage bait. I don't know.
Yeah, and now we just like their violence because that's Fortnite, and Fortnite's everything. But it's a game where you take guns and you shoot people. But you can't have naked people in Fortnite. Not permitted.
No. Just mildly, sexually suggestive themes and pop cultural icons that I made fun of this and I didn't really mean it. There was one video I made that was just making fun of the fact that that as you're saying, there's all of these restrictions against explicit media that we're coming up against, and yet you've got the beach episode themes in Marvel Rivals. You've got Sabrina Carpenter, there's nothing wrong with Sabrina Carpenter, but all of her music is very explicit.
Yeah,
and she's in Fortnite. What the fuck is the deal? Where's the line?
Yeah, no, it is. The line is at video games. It's as I am switched over to strictly purchased music and I've got off of streaming. I'm like, I need to purchase a copy of thinking of the Downward Spiral, and I'm not going to be required to I'm not banned from buying that album because it has a song Closer on it, and Trent says he's going to do some rude things to you in that song that would not be allowed in a video game. But it's in the same way, all these games got delisted from itch, but it's not like Game of Thrones got delisted from Amazon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and so many shows I'm trying to think there's definitely a lot of rude things suggested in Succession. I don't think there's a lot of on-screen things, but yeah, the so much consistent incest in Game of Thrones.
Yes.
It's just not no one bats an eye because it's oh, it's medieval, it's fine.
Right.
It's well, but you're still showing it. Like,
I can. This is how. For one, this is how I learned that. Currently, Barnes and Noble is doing their Criterion 50% off sale. But I was like, can you just go buy Salo on BarnesandNoble.com? And I can go buy Salo on BarnesandNoble.com. But of course, if I was to go on itch.io and buy a game that had a boob in it or whatever.
No, exactly.
Eternally delisted.
Although, one good thing that's been happening recently, I think, in light of all of this stuff that's been happening, is for the past like month or so, there's been back-to-back Steam not safe for work festivals and like package deals and things like that have been happening, which is good.
Yeah, because it's not like, I mean, for all the doom and gloom, it's not like everything got immediately delisted or anything. Like, I can go to the itch not safe for work and there's plenty there.
It's true. I think that we're still currently working on the workaround that people found, where basically the itch creator was just like, hey, if you just make it so like people can't donate to your, cause, you can still have your game up. And so that's like wonky in that, like, everything is free basically.
Right.
So people get a lot less support, but
yeah,
it's better than nothing.
Exactly. And it's the same thing where, Not Safe Works jumps from like Patreon to Subscribestar to whatever, to whatever platform doesn't ban them yet.
Yeah, that was a little wild. Is that like, I think thankfully nothing happened after this, but Subscribestar did ban one of like their biggest creators, and everyone was like, "Oh no!"
Right.
If you're getting banned from Subscribestar, what then?
and folks, if we're not talking about this because we're horny perverts on a Saturday. There's a I mean, that doesn't preclude those kinds of things, but we are laser focused on this subject because if people, I mean, the name kind of implies it, but if people are not familiar with Gooning Simulator, how would you describe it?
I mean, the pitch I always give is that Gooning Simulator is like a sexy version of Cookie Clicker. It's a clicker game with some visual novel narrative elements. In the game, your online mistress takes away your ability to... I don't know what I'm allowed to say.
You're allowed to say anything.
Okay. Yes. As long as I'm chill.
Yes.
All right. She takes away your ability to come, so you have to goon, and you have to earn enough money through gooning to pay for an in-person session with her, or else you'll explode from too much cum.
Yes, and that
always gets people laughing because it's like so ludicrous, but it is a game I take very seriously, and like there's a lot of Cookie Clicker-esque elements if you've played that game. Where,
yes.
Like, where shit hits the fan, or like things get real.
Yes, no, so. It is weird how like as a recent publisher of a candy box physically, how that and Cookie Clicker were so long ago and yet still feel so much fresher than so much incremental stuff that has come out since then.
Yeah, it's kind of a genre that I think there's like a handful of examples of games that I think have done pretty well, but not very many, and certainly not from like a lewd perspective. I think that there's definitely a few.
Yeah.
Like I always mix them up, but Crush Crush I think came before Blush Blush, and so that's like one of like the more popular ones. And then a lot of my friends recommended to me. It's like, oh, it's like FAP CEO, and so I had to check that one out.
right, and it's the lucrative genre of working hard for your pornography. which is, it's always like,
so you feel like you've earned it.
Right. It is a weird thing of like massive games based on like when it's like well, it's clearly like there's some. I mean, that is almost proof positive that it's not purely just like smut for smut's sake. That it's, if people needed more and more evidence that it's a genre that exists and they are games. Is that these games exist and have existed for such a long time. When the perceived like end goal is extremely achievable very quickly on the internet.
Totally. And I mean, if you look into like I guess like sex worker culture in general, there's definitely like this concept of like making your potential John like think that they're wooing you,
Right.
when in fact, like, you're making things obviously very easy and like leading a breadcrumb trail of what's actually happening, right? But people pretend and want the simulated experience.
Yeah, like, and people say parasocial relationships are new.
Right. No. Yeah.
No.
Gosh, as long as there's been celebrity, as
Yeah.
long as there's been like the really cool person in your fucking village that you were just like, man, they smiled at me once and now I give them bread for free every day,
Right.
and it's great.
Sex work is the oldest profession, and then the second oldest profession is, I don't know, being an influencer.
I mean, basically, it's kind of like, yeah, almost. I don't want to say hand in hand, but yeah, being paid to be beautiful
Right.
has always been a thing.
It's a commodity you can always have. Turns out.
Right. Yeah.
For better or for worse.
Totally. I was just talking with a friend the other day. A cousin of hers like works for one of these really expensive like private airlines because she's a beautiful woman, and so she's just like a the host, one of the hostesses. I'm using the wrong word, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
Like, but she gets the big money because she's intelligent and nice to look at, and there's a lot of jobs like that.
Yeah, like there's a lot to like. I think it's underestimated as a skill, as a
Mm-hmm.
as like a cultivated skill that you have.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I mean, I certainly have been able to pull a social media following partially because like people on the internet find me attractive, and like that has not been the case. It's very much like I grew up like being kind of like not that kid for sure.
Right.
And I feel like I say this with my friends all the time, but it's like the baddest bitches are always like the ugliest kids, and because you had to grow up, and mold yourself,
right.
And to become like a confident person more than anything, and then, like, there's at least like one or two different loot games that actually like have this as a interesting like feature of the game, but basically that like the more the good that happens to you, the higher like you raise your confidence levels, like that's your attractiveness levels. Right. And I think it's true to life. It's like, if you can convince people that you by either dressing yourself up or presenting yourself. So we talk about marketing.
Yes.
Is like the best way to earn money from your games a lot of the time. You can have like a wonderful game, but if people can't find it, and so a lot of it comes down to presentation, and the same goes with real life.
Yeah. So much of it is like most of like, especially and we're increasingly in this like, whatever people are subscribing to you through, like so much of it comes through like your personality, and then I guess you also make something. But like the personality aspect feels like it's just so increasingly important towards like getting people to care about your things because they care about you,
Yeah, it's definitely feels like the standard now, where you could be like somewhat private, but you definitely get more internet points the messier you are.
Yes.
Or like the more you're talking openly about like, oh, and I don't like this person, or like they, this happened to me.
It is a thing I think about a lot. I'm like, oh, it would be so much. Things would be so much faster if I just like posted all the time.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't have the poster heart in me.
No, for sure. And like, it just depends. I feel like I'm just enough of a goofball my day to day that like I've always like, and I went to school for film. And so this has felt like a really nice, like social media, I mean, has been a really nice outlet for me to feel like, oh yeah, I can use that degree.
Right.
Just, like for communications or like the writing of it, it's like, oh yeah, I get to, edit and stuff. Like, that's pretty nice. I'm forgetting her name, but I follow the developer who made this game, Consume Me.
Oh.
And she made like a funny video recently that was just like,
now you're putting me on the spot.
Tips. Yeah. Oh, like for knowing, but I mean, it's
Jenny something,
popular.
I think. I'm 90.
Right.
I'm
Yes.
90%. I'm just blanking on the last name.
Definitely Jenny. No, for sure. But she made a video recently that she was like kidding around and saying, like the hot tips for social media. Whenever I cry on camera, I always my videos do really well.
Right.
So just always cry on camera, and you'll do great, guys.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Oh, man.
Also,
sorry,
extreme hot tip for all those people looking like, how do people find my video games? Become friends with people who cover video games. That will get you.
Oh gosh, yeah.
That will get you right to the front of the line, which is yes. Like, that's just like the natural of like everything, I think we pretend that anything that requires curation or someone to like choose between multiple people, it's not even a coverage. I'm sure it is also like anything that requires curation. Knowing someone gets you there a lot faster.
Yes,
which isn't absolutely. Even like, I don't even think it's an unscrupulous thing. I think it's just life.
No, it's just, and it's something that like. And I've felt this way.
Yeah.
And so I do really commiserate with folks who, like, when they're given the advice of like, hey, just go out there and make friends, and their response innately is like, well, but I'm not good at that. Like, I'm not a social person.
Right.
I'm an introvert. XYZ. Like, I'm that sounds like an impossible task for me. I've been that person, but the greatest skill that you can work on in your entire life is how to be personable, how to communicate well, how to make friends, and I know how draining and difficult it is, especially like if folks are neurodivergent. But my like best tip, and I think I mentioned this when we chatted at like PAX East, but like my best tip for anyone in those situations is like, all I do is I go into like a loud ass networking room, and I go like, hey, how's it going? Da, 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 da. Wow, it's really loud in here. You want to like talk where it's like not as loud outside?
Yes.
And I just pull like 5 or 6 people, and then I can have like a real conversation with them,
Yes.
And now it's like I've increased my intrigue because I've shown that I can lead a little bit by being like, hey, like come with me, and then also like have helped usually some people out who were like, oh yeah, it was really loud in there, this is great.
Yes, I truly like I hate going to a loud room and then like, oh, I'm in a loud room. And my similar advice to people that something I learned early on is like, oh, I wouldn't be bothered if people came up and talked to me. So other people would probably not feel the same, are probably all feeling the same way.
Yes.
And then sometimes you walk into a group conversation like, oh, this is clearly like an in-group having a chat, and then you just turn around and walk away. You go, oh, okay.
Right. Yeah, you have to have a little bit of a thicker skin to not feel, if you get that immediate rejection, you can still kind of keep going and just go up to the next person. Yeah, because I think the first person I talked to in this room where we chatted at PAX, I think the first person I chatted to was nice, but I have to like face a lot of rejection as like a not safe for work game developer, but I do accept it. It's like when I go up to somebody, they're going to be potentially uncomfortable. So I try as much as I can to like lead with it, to gauge like where they're at,
right,
and let the conversation go, so that way that they don't feel like they're sitting in an uncomfortable space
and
for
then
too long.
They're like, it's easier to ditch out in conversation the first few sentences instead of like they're 15 minutes in and they're like, uh-oh. How do I just dip out? Now it's like, I don't want to talk about this.
Right.
It is, yeah. And it's also, knowing other people, you create just like a little web, a little chain of people who then know people, and then you just kind of slowly accumulate those people.
Yeah.
Games are, especially I think like, smaller scale, like independent games are a little worse with this because they don't have like, we don't have like cons in the same way that or like events one might go out to, whether you're like going to like, you're on tour, or you're like going to like a million little Comic Cons, or doing a bunch of shows if you're like an actor in New York or LA, where you keep bouncing across the same, like you're frequently coming across people. I think it's easier to build up those like slow acquaintanceships. That's harder in games where it's like, there aren't those really. or you just go to the one that's near you, and that's the only one you go to.
Right. Yeah, that's basically what I was gonna say. It's like it's either local,
but you're less likely to be like, oh, I'm gonna go to all the PAXs, and then some other events. I'm running out of events. But there is a.
I know it's definitely like a way that my local folks through like the visual novel jams and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. So it comes to online, and I feel like it's nice to see that there are increasingly like smaller online spaces. I like seeing a bunch of like little groups of like, oh, here's a bunch of people who are part of.
I think I lost you for a second.
Yes, I think we lost each other. Little groups. I was talking about their little groups. It's nice that there are little groups of people.
I think I heard what you were just saying. I did catch up. Oh yeah.
I think that was it. I think I was just the little groups. Maybe was the little thing. It was the mental path I was on currently. But yeah, and then sometimes in cases you maybe do be like, oh, I saw them in person, or sometimes it's like the weirdness of social media of, oh, that person is followed by this person I know, maybe they are a cool person. I don't know. I don't know if we're losing each other again. Uh-oh. This could be we could have run into a disconnect, or I don't know if it's an audio problem. This is a, can you hear me? I am typing in the chat now. Can you hear? Nope, wrong here. Me? Because I cannot hear you. Because I cannot. Nope, that's not how you spell cannot. Here, you. Well, fortunately, this technical difficulty happened as my recording is at the 22-minute mark, which is the perfect time to end a segment. I give him a little. Oh yes, sorry. Hello. I saw your little circles lighting up.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think we're. You can hear me now, right?
Yes, I got you now. Yes, hello.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I can hear you both now.
Thank you. Yes, I got you. You're coming in now. I think. Well, I mean, this time it was self-muting.
Okay.
Still here.
Yes, you're still here. Hello. Welcome back. I was just saying we have actually you hit the technical difficulties right around our 22-minute mark, so right around the end of our segment.
Yeah, it's good timing in some ways.
Yes, but I've got two questions for you, two kind of stock standard questions that I ask on every show.
Yeah, sure.
First up, what's your favorite type of rock?
Wow, limestone.
And secondary question, do you have a favorite Toho character?
No, I don't. I had a friend in high school who was obsessed with Toho, and so I'd always watch playthroughs and stuff. But I don't have this particular character because I never got around to playing it myself. I was always just enthralled watching.
That's perfectly fine. That's why the second question is optionally answered.
For sure. Let me give 1 second to the rock question though.
Yes.
I was I am a huge Dwarf Fortress fan.
Okay.
And so I've learned everything I know about rocks from Dwarf Fortress. About the different, where you find them in different layers of the earth and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my limestone answer. It's it's cool, it's ubiquitous, it's useful for a lot of things. I learned about it in Dwarf Fortress.
So where do you find it?
It's pretty high. It's you find a lot of it because it's pretty close to when you first start digging. So yeah, not super low, and there's interesting limestone caves and stuff you can actually walk into. You don't have to go spelunking.
Right.
The guys are usually made fun of for going through the smallest cracks in the world. Yeah, so it's pretty neat.
Well, perfect. HB, thank you for joining me here today. We are going to go on a break and be back in about 3 minutes and 1 second. Hey, goodbye for now, everyone. Hello and welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. That was King Woman with Coil. Got us, yes, truly got you stay up for the Indiepocalypse because we have other guests up here who are. I think they're. I did one show for. Not it wasn't a show. It was a recording for Superfest. That I think featured people in like every. It was like. What East Coast U.S., West Coast U.S., Japan, Austria, England, I think. So basically, both coasts of Europe, East Coast of Asia, both coasts of the U.S., and there's like 2 hours where that works, where you can kind of cram everyone into that room, and no one is like up an absurd hour. But luckily, we have another guest here who isn't up at an absurd hour. I hope so at least. Who you may know from issue 62 of Indiepocalypse with Demian. I'm like, wait a minute, did I pronounce that? We'll find out in a second. Is Zig? Zig, how you doing?
Yes, hello. It's oh my god. My English is a bit rusty. I'm not used to talk anymore, so I apologize.
No, it's a compliment to Indiepocalypse that's it's so international that sometimes people have rusty English and whatever. You're the one who can speak 2 languages, fluently enough to be on the show. But welcome.
Thank you for having me. So I don't know. I'm not really used to go to places and talk about my stuff because
no, I think
I'm just doing my thing and okay.
No, I'm used to that often as well. That is it's kind of mentioned in the first segment. Indie devs don't really have like a lot of like shared like small spaces. Like I think it's not uncommon to just like for there not to be a like place for you if you're like a no budget indie dev. Often there's like maybe not even an event near you that you can do. Like events cost like $800 or something minimum, which is a lot.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What are the possibilities?
Right.
In Italy, that is for sure something.
Right.
I know them from the distance. But, yeah, I have no budget, so I don't really have anything for it now.
Yeah, like the only indie show I know, which is like only close in that it's in Europe, is a Maze. But there's probably others that are not like international recognized ones. But like who knows if like there are ones like local colleges put on. But I have a question for you. As an Indiepocalypse contributor, which is, how did you find Indiepocalypse?
So it was like last winter, I think, January.
Yeah.
Around that time, and basically I was searching for a way to find other people, so that's the topic of today. And I saw on each that there was these gems, and I thought, okay, what's the deal about these gems? And so I don't know, I found it and I said, okay, there is cool stuff on it, so maybe my stuff is cool too.
Yes,
to be a part of this.
Hey, spoilers for people who are listening who might have realized it is cool stuff.
Thank you. And so from it, when I have time, I'll try to find other ways to other devs, indie devs. It's not that easy because online there are many small spaces and you have to be friends with people to know they exist at all.
Yes, yeah.
So it's not easy, but in some way.
Yeah, that's the thing I think about with like, I think physical spaces help, like, bridge the gap where you meet all the people in those smaller online spaces, but when you lack those physical spaces, like, how do you meet people in smaller online spaces? The answer is, I mean, I don't have a good answer for that. My answer is I made this.
Yeah.
But,
you've done a great job in doing this.
Thank you. It is, you know, it is my way of like not knowing how to connect with people over the internet and having a clear thing that just kind of draws people to me, because that way it's easier than going out towards people.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, usually I just browse like Instagram or Blue Sky.
Yeah.
And find creators or something, and then I search in the who they follow and say, oh, this is so cool. I need to be their friend, but then I don't know.
Yeah.
How to approach.
Right. Because it is like, you know, if I was to say, hey, if I just emailed you like, hey, do you want to join a Discord call with a stranger for 2 hours? And you'd be like, what? But if I call it a show, it like makes it easier. So it's hard when you, like, I don't know how to do it when you don't have that kind of like framing around it, you know. Because I think it depends on sometimes of people, like, I don't know how to say it, like, it's a terrible thing, the idea of like, oh, people want to talk to you so you have to like already be established. It's all like a vicious, like, weird cycle, you know.
Yeah, but I think it's like what you were saying before, like maybe the person that you are afraid to talk to also is afraid to talk to you.
Yes.
So someone needs to do the first move.
Yeah, I think it often is like a lot of the case, or it's kind of just, yeah, or people are like, oh yeah, I know who you are, or I've just, you know, even like if you look at, you know, and we talk about like who I follow, like I worry not too much about like following on social media, because like, you know, I, for instance, pretty much exclusively follow games people and contributors even more, and I, as you can imagine, like more things than just video games. But don't follow any of those people who are in those other fields or do anything else. So it's just like, there's too much like visible stuff that's easy to get hung up on.
Yeah.
Like it's like our social standing, or our perceived social standing, is too observable, and it's weird. Where someone can be like, oh, that person has 13 followers, nobody knows who they are, you know. This person has 10,000, very important. And really,
yeah.
But all that aside, the more important things, if somebody, we mentioned if someone wasn't familiar with a Demian, how would you describe it to them?
Okay, so it's an interactive story, and it's based on the novel by Hermanissi. And this project was first intended to be a comic.
Yeah.
But that lasted about a week. And then I said, okay, but what if it was a game? So I started to work around that. And I don't know, it was a way to explore a different way to tell a story.
Yeah.
And I chose his novel because I like it.
I mean,
And I absolutely ate it. No.
oh, right.
Um,
Because you have to know it intimately and recreate it and understand it and reinterpret it.
yes. And it's funny because at the start, like, of course, I liked it, but it was not like my favorite book ever.
Right.
But in the time that I'm working on it, it's growing more and more on me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's mine now.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of the sort of like interesting conversational nature that like art has, where it's not just an object that exists.
Mm.
Like it's a living thing that interacts with us as we interact with it. Even
Yeah.
if now, did you come from? I'm taking an assumption based on what you said, but you come from more of like a comics and art background before getting into games.
Um, so I didn't really study art.
Okay.
I did finance in college, and
Oh, I think you've cut out. I cannot hear you if you're talking.
visual artist. So
Oh, hello.
can you hear me?
No, I lost you like about 30 seconds ago.
Okay. Now do you hear me?
I do, yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, what I was saying. Um,
Uh,
no, but I didn't study art, but yes, I think of myself more of a visual on the visual side of
yes.
things.
And studying art is also not like a requirement.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a not a brand new concept, but a newer in the grand scheme of art having existed for the eternity of humanity.
Um,
I don't know.
I don't know this. Oh, what? Oh, sorry.
And what made you decide to then first like make a transition to trying making games as well?
Uh, it's a thing that I've thought for some time,
Yeah.
but I really never got around it. And so when I started this, my idea was to challenge myself in some way.
Yeah.
And I've never made a bigger project like. Um, so I thought, what if I did this? Like maybe it's my chance.
Yeah, you did the smart thing of not starting initially with the largest project and saying this has to be the first thing that I finish, uh, which
And,
is the best way to never make anything.
uh, I don't know. My approach is to like if I make something that I don't have many drive to do it, I just abandon it.
Yes.
So that's not a great way for me to do stuff.
No, but I think it's
Yeah.
also like a good mentality to have sometimes of not having to like finish everything just because you started it. Because I think in the time it would take for you to drag yourself through a project you don't want to do, you could have maybe done 3 things that you did want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I also see like a project is not like a still thing. Like it grows in many ways.
Yeah.
So you can always iterate and change things. So it's like I think that a game or anything else, it's never complete. Like you can always go back to it and work on it.
Right.
You have to choose to stop. That's another thing.
Yeah, right. Because yeah, right. It's just like eventually you decide. It's when you decide to start working on it. When you're. It's not when it's done. It's when you're done with it. Because and you know you set yourself up in doing like a chapter format style, which is convenient because it allows you to like actually put things out while also making something longer. While also not.
Yeah. I have made 3 out of 8 chapters.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can take things like in a slower rhythm. But
Yeah. And it's also.
I'm not.
Sorry.
Yes. Sorry.
No. I was also. I was just saying that because it is. A chapter approach is not. Early access is a weird thing I think to approach as someone who wants to play games because it's more like you're just building something on the same base over and over again. Rather than a chapter-based approach is like, oh, I got a new chapter of something. It's something completely new, not a reiteration of the existing thing that I'm already familiar with.
Yeah. Early access is. I'm not really sure it's a very cool way to release stuff. Like it depends on the project, I guess.
Yeah, it's.
But yeah, you're already familiar with something, but it's not really polished. So you are not really sure if it's like made well or not.
Right.
You are not sure. I don't know.
It's
It's a weird compromise, I think.
Yeah, and it's like, and I guess to some degree, it's one of those things where you don't matter when you just need, early access is born out of needing people to buy your thing, and I guess it doesn't matter when people buy it, or if someone bought the first early access release, I guess it doesn't matter if they play the finished version because they already gave you the money. And I think maybe that's like the core philosophy of early access. Is just getting money.
Yeah.
And trying to avoid the 8-year-long development cycle on a game when really the solution is you should stop having so long development cycles and start making shorter games.
Yeah. Like it's almost the same thing as releasing stuff on day one and then making a ton of DLC.
Right.
Like, why? Just wait a bit longer. I don't know.
Yeah, or just make it, make the things like a bit. Games feel like the medium in most heavy need of editing, as pieces of art. But that's because they exist both in this weird space of like in between like hobby and art, where from like a hobby standpoint or whatever, it's probably good that it takes a lot of time. Like you want something that you wouldn't want to be building a model that takes like 3 pieces, even if the model looks really good at the end, because you want the work of doing all the little tiny pieces. But it's an odd medium in that way.
Yeah, what I discovered while working on my game is that it's really fucking funny. So like the real game for me is like making the game. So
yes,
that's me.
right.
And I think, oh wow, like I could go on forever, but yes, at a time I need to stop, like, because obsessing over little details won't lead you anywhere.
Yeah, and I think that's like the mentality I am attracted to in games of, oh no, these, games that people just want to make because they're having fun making the games that they want to make. I think the maybe we'll talk about it in the group segment, but something I was thinking about, I was like, I think the thing that bothers me the most within games is I feel like people just need to have more confidence in what their work is, and just like not feel the need to cater to people. And it's just like if you're making something that you like, generally people will also like it, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Like I think a lot of creatives in many fields feels that way. Like that if you don't try to appease uh, an audience, nobody will care about you.
Right.
So, but you have to find a balance between what you want to do yourself, because if you don't you don't put something in it, nobody will care for it anyway.
Yeah, it's one of those like, how much are you just? I don't know how to describe. Like, how much are you making a game? Like, how much are you making a piece of art versus how much are you doing a job? You know.
Mm.
Because if you're trying to make it a job, if you're trying to work a job, and the job is making games, yeah, you want to make the most straight ahead marketable kind of thing you can. But there, and I think it's about finding the balance, and it feels increasingly towards at least seeing the way people talk about game design sometimes, that the balance is shifting even. At least when I say within games, I'm of course talking about budgeted commercial games, not like independent games, which are going just fine.
Yeah, I mean it's almost like when, like, if you have a hobby, like one of the first question that you get is, but do you make money out of it?
Right.
So it's like just our mentality that goes towards that.
Yeah, I think my friction I always run into with games is just because there's not enough loud people who are loud art people. It just feels like all the loud people exist in that biz dev space, and it sours the whole medium when you're not within like smaller spaces. But speaking of things that exist in both smaller and larger spaces, is like, what's your favorite type of rock?
Um, I'd say lapis lazuli.
Okay.
Because I think it's really, I don't know, it looks very pretty because it seems like a sky with stars. So I'd say that.
Perfect. Yeah, no, it's one of those things I never looked at. Like, why do rocks? It's one of those really obvious questions, but it's a thing I never thought of. I'm like, why do rocks look like that? Why do they form like that? Maybe I'll think about that eventually at some point in the future. I'll answer that important question.
That's so cool.
Because sometimes these things do have very obvious answers, and you just never thought to ask them.
Yeah, it's like when you're a kid, people ask you what's your favorite color,
Yeah.
and you know the answer. But when you grow up, nobody asks you that anymore, and I think it's lame.
Yeah.
We should ask what's the favorite thing of other people often.
I do it at least once a weekend, often on this show at the very least. And secondary, do you have a favorite Toho character?
I don't have an answer for that because I'm not familiar with it.
Well, of course, Toho is a long-running doujin series out of Japan, primarily bullet hells, that has a very open and free-flowing fan game policy. So it has also a very vibrant fan game scene.
Okay.
I think it's very cool conceptually. With that said, Zig, thanks for joining me here. We're going to be going on break, a much shorter break. This break's going to be about 2 minutes and 12 seconds. We'll be back on the other side of that. Thanks for being here. I'm blocking my transition button. Be right back. Hello, sure. Welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. That was The Gift That Keeps On Giving, of course, which is the double nickel on the dime, the Minutemen album, given that it's 40-plus tracks. That was, of course, History Lesson Part 2. We are back with the whole crew is here. Hello, whole crew. How you doing?
Hello.
I was briefly mentioning Odama in the break room. Odama, if you know, it was a GameCube game that used a GameCube microphone. It was a pinball game, but also like an RTS. So you'd have these little guys on the board that like do things, and you tell them to do things. It'd be like it came with an attachment that you'd plug the microphone into the GameCube controller, and you would have to like press the Y button to activate it, and then you'd be like advance or flank right. And the little guys would, because you need to get all your little guys to the top of the board, while also flinging your pinball around at stuff. It's a weird thing, and I was unsuccessful.
Yeah, I'm glad at least. Nintendo obviously, reasonably, is getting like a lot of flack these days, but I do always appreciate remembering like how much they've experimented over the years. So many different like additional devices for game consoles. Yeah, because like I even in I'm forgetting what it's called, but like the accessibility parts of GDC, right? Yeah. That have the games made with like a lot of different interesting inputs and stuff.
Oh yeah, alt control.
I don't know how much they use. Yeah, I don't know how much they use audio input for things, or how much they've experimented with that. Like it seems like a technology that's still very underdeveloped.
Yes.
At least if you're not using AI, I guess like that's like the biggest change with it. It's like if you're using AI, it's probably a lot easier.
Right. There was of course the indie game classic. I think Flag Clap. I think is what it's called. Is that what it's? Let me see if I remember. It's a game where you clap and a flag goes up.
Well, that's cool because it also can read just like.
I was. It was America. It's Americlap. Sorry, Americlap.
Americlap.
Yes.
Is it patriotic to America?
Yes. It's an American flag. You clap a lot. You clap a lot, and
you clap to raise the flag.
Yes, you clap, and the American flag goes up.
What?
Ah! That's so funny.
And it has been updated as of August 6th, 2025. Who is this?
Wow.
What's going on with this? It was funny. I was going to look at this person and be like, oh, whatever, ultra famous indie dev. Like, it's because that's the funny thing about going through like your itch back catalog or whatever. And you'll be like, oh, look at this funny little game from like 15 years ago, and go, oh, who made that? And then you see like you go, oh, it's that person.
Oh, cool. I mean,
I do not know this person, but I'm learning to.
For sure. Yeah. I want to get better at learning names. I'm very bad at it.
Yeah, no, I'm both. I'm very bad at. They do a lot of like Dreamcast homebrew. It looks like. This is Captain. I presume is that CAPT is short for Captain in this situation. Captain Kuso. Oh, like shitty games. Okay, I get what you're saying. I got you. I got your game, Captain. Presumably.
The other audio input games that come to mind is like with the same attachment you're describing for the GameCube. I think they had like a couple Mario Party-esque games.
Yes.
Like there's a meme of like this guy. You have to. He's just screaming at the top of his lungs so that like Toad runs the fastest.
Yes, that is. I'm trying. I think there might have been a Pikachu game also for GameCube, but I don't know how many games use the GameCube microphone. But that's let's bring it back. This thing actually looks. What's going on here? They made like a. I'm getting down this Captain Crusoe rabbit hole now. They made like a. It looks like a kind of like a. An asteroids RPG thing. Uh-oh. One humanoid character appears topless. Uh-oh. Watch out there.
My territory, hello.
You're gonna get busted. I'm gonna... The thing I've been trying to do better is like when I find people and I want to think and remember them, is actually just like follow them on things,
Right, yeah. Well, but it only sometimes works because algorithms are all messed up.
And I also barely
on Instagram.
Barely look at that.
I'll do is like, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it depends like where you've got them also, because like some social medias have things better organized than others. But,
yes.
What I try to do is like on Instagram and Twitter, this usually works. But like, I mean, well, Twitter has like lists.
Yeah.
On Instagram, I'll save one post from each person's like profile and put it into like a little thing so I can find them later. So I did lose a lot of that though, because I think account was ripped from my grasp. But
yes.
That's how it goes.
No, when a lot of when one of the many Twitter exoduses, I was like because I had a lot of artists kind of like just like piles and piles of like artists for covers in a giant list. So I was like, these people start discontinue. If these people start like deactivating their accounts or, changing their profiles to like no longer here, go here, like I'm like I need to be able to find them again. So luckily a lot of them just had websites. And I just saved a bunch of website bookmarks, bringing it all the way back to the old style,
Yeah.
A lot of it is just kind of like the mutual following, like puts people in my brain,
No, for sure.
Yeah, even if I never interact with them. It's just like the kind of, oh yes, we know each other now kind of thing. Which I think, as we've talked on the show, can be the hardest part.
Yes, and just keeping up with people.
Yeah.
I've had mild success. It's been like an insane time since PAX, but it was the first time I was successfully able to like actually email everyone after an event, which is great.
I have actually finally worked through all of my. I sorted all my business cards now into different piles of types of people. And I've since I think followed up with of everyone who I need to follow up with. Or I think technically I have one person like I still don't know what to do with it. It's like a press person gave me a card at PAX and I'm like, what do you want me to do with this thing? Didn't I already email you like 30 times about this project? What do you want me to do with this card, buddy?
For sure. No, and like, oh gosh, it reminded me that like there were some people I don't think I got back to because it was, if I don't get back to people instantly after an event, it's just over. It's like I need to meet them again for the first time.
Yes. And
it's so tough.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. And it's very.
I mean, I remember like there was a friend that is a cosplayer, and a couple of times I tried to. It was really fun, but yeah, like you meet a lot of other cosplayer, and you have to try to keep in contact. And if you don't like, especially when people are with makeup on and wigs,
Yeah.
I can remember who they are, what they do look like, so it's impossible to figure it out later.
I had someone who came up to my booth in I think like 3 conventions in a row, and I never remembered them because they were cosplaying every time. And I was like, who is this? I'm like, this little person looks familiar until eventually I was like, by the 4th time by PAX West, I knew it. I was like, yep. I locked in, mostly because by the 3rd time I had to commit to remembering who this person was. I was like, I'm not making that mistake a 4th time. No matter what costume you are, I need to, zone in on other details of you, of your face, these parts that aren't going to change as much.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm terrible with faces too, so that's awful.
Oh. Yeah, let's see. My usual thing I cling to is the thing I jump to the most is hair, because it's identifiable from like the front and the back, both front, like from every side generally. And it doesn't change quite as much, but with cons and cosplay, that changes the most of everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With some cosplayers, I'd hope at least like you can like check to see, oh, is this person in like that cosplay?
Yeah.
And recognize it from like their pictures, maybe. But like then it's so much work, like to just identify someone.
Right.
Because especially if you're trying to meet people, I've learned it's great to have a bit.
Yes.
To have something that helps people recognize you and like try to keep it consistent.
Right. I have.
So I always try to wear the same glasses, and I have the little, it's like LED name tag thing.
Yeah, I have a table that has a bunch of tapes on it. So when people come up to,
Right.
People see the table, they go, "Oh, it's that guy." It's
for sure. I feel like you also have like a fairly recognizable look, Andrew. So
yes,
I feel like that helps.
It does not look like my avatars. It looks mildly different, which is just my hair's longer. I tried that thing of like, I had to find a hairstyle that I can do myself because I got lazy and cheap. And I was like, I can just shave the side of my head easily. I've gotten good at it, relatively speaking. Like even doing the back.
Yes.
No mirror required. And I trust that is good. I never see the back of my head.
And no one else pays attention.
Right.
So.
And no one else is like, hey, you've got a bunch of weird long hair sticking out on the back. Because fortunately, when you talk to people, they don't often see the back of your head, so you're in luck there.
Especially when you're at a booth, it's like the entire backside's just gone.
Right, I am locked under cover of the. Also, like, so weird to, while I'm thinking about it, of like. Granted, my situation is different because I have 100 things, but like, I did very good at PAX with just like a table. Like nothing else, basically. Like
that was amazing. I mean, I zigzadig to paint you a picture. Andrew was, manning a table. The table is like full of all cassettes, and there's just like this a cardboard box explosion behind it.
Right? Yes.
The first day. It was just a big box, like a refrigerator sized box, with the top ripped off and just stuff scattered. It was honestly amazing to see, because on the show floor, so many booths spend thousands and thousands of dollars to like, put together all these like really fancy, like stuff to give out and banners and cards, and everything's very, very fancy. It's all like publisher money and everything. And then so getting to this booth is just like such a it's amazing. It's amazing. I know it. I hope it doesn't come off like a.
No.
And of course, like
And you've seen the good version. You've seen the good version of it.
I have, yeah. Yeah, the cage. The cage was pretty cool too.
You see what
like a more of like a
what like the nice proper ideal version of it was, but like turns out you don't need that. It's weird.
No, and I mean it had its own charm.
Yeah.
Because it's like your whole deal is setting yourself apart from all of these other people that are at this convention.
Yeah.
And like I think it made more of like a splash that way. Because the other thing with like the big cage with like tons of these cassettes that are sort of like surrounding you like on metal is that I think I mean you tell me, but it felt like a lot more approachable to just have a straight up table.
Yes.
And it was a lot easier for people to sort of hear your spiel without having to kind of like make assumptions, basically.
My goal with that is like both. I thought it was like an aesthetically cool as a game shop, but my
it was awesome. It was awesome.
But also people still don't know what this thing is. Like
yeah.
I'm putting on faith that of course you've really dug into the depths of the internet and you know what Indiepocalypse is. It's like, no, you don't. What are you doing? And people don't read signs. You can put up. I've commiserated with Ash K about like, because they are also selling tapes at conventions, and they're like, people just do not read signs. They just do not read signs. Like, I've put up.
No, they don't.
They put up.
It has to be like. What were you saying?
No, I was saying they had similarly put up just signs everywhere. It's like these things inside these boxes are video games to no success or to very limited success, and still need to explain it.
I think like it just has to be the simplest concept, because like I used to work as a librarian's assistant, and that was great. But like basically my job was to direct people, right? I had very few other responsibilities. And so people don't read signs. But I do think they read signs under like some specific criteria. Specifically, like, is this something that I want to read?
Right.
In terms of like, does the content within sound like something I want to associate myself with? And then there's like legibility and stuff, but I think that first concept is really important. And what you sort of introduced is something that no one's ever seen before, for the most part, right?
Right.
So I feel like if the concept is simplified to like buy physical games, that sells because people are familiar with that, with like GameStop.
Yeah.
And this is just a new format, right? But as long as they know like games, physical copy.
Yeah,
and they'll be like, oh, this is a physical copy, so what does that mean? Is it in the cassette tape? And then you show them and it's a thumb drive.
Yes. Which is often what I'm like, I forget to put my big signs to say physical indie games sold here.
Yes, exactly.
Which helps gets the point across. But it is also, but like once people are there, like,
yeah,
they're interested. Like that's what gives me, it's what fuels me with hope for the medium of like, there's like a couple games sometimes that people know on the table, but most of them people don't know what these games are.
But that's perfect,
yeah,
because it's like, okay, I have some familiarity, and then I can see that like, oh, you're saying that these games are kind of like this one game that I think is really cool. Great, I would love to buy these other games because I love this one game.
Yeah, and so many people buy like, these games basically like sight unseen, and it's
totally
what doing this now multiple times is the excitement of people being like, oh, I got something last year and I want something else, like that is the hopefulness for the potential of like wider scopes of like what games people are getting get into. And it feels like a generational thing, honestly, in some degree. I mean, there are cool people at all ages, but it feels generally as people get younger, they're more interested in like alternative and like free experimental indie games you'll find on itch.
Also, I think having something physical, it's rare now.
Yeah.
Like everything, you just download it, so you can touch it, and it's a different experience.
Yeah, I tried doing cards like with codes on the back first, and those nowhere near as successful.
They paid like business cards.
They were like postcards, size things.
Yeah.
That had they put a little postcard with the cover on it.
Yeah.
And it had the code. And like, oh, this will. People were like, not really that interested. Like, but even just like getting a thing. Somebody bought. Like when I was at Portland Retro Game Expo, someone was like, I want to buy one of all of these things. And they bought one of all of those things. And they did not come in as like, oh yeah, no, I have known this project for 80 years. I'm a big super fan or whatever.
Right.
They're like they discovered it there. And I think there's space for tons of that in games. It's just you have to go to places, and that's the hard part. It's like, spending the money to go to places.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, one other thing I've seen people do that's cool is like I don't think I purchased it, but I was offered an album, someone's like music album, not on not through a cassette, but there's like these flat like business card sized USBs, and they fold up and so they can fit into your wallet. Have you seen these?
Yes. No, someone gave me a bunch of those.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was initially what I was thinking you were saying. I was like, damn, I thought that those would sell well.
Yeah.
But,
no, those. I mean, there's the ones that gave me also have little mangoes attached to them, which helps.
Right. Yes. Okay.
People like to come and touch the mangoes.
Yeah. It's squishy. It's cute.
But
I can't imagine like how much it costs though. Which I feel like cassettes.
Yeah.
Is probably cheap.
Oh, it is dirt cheap to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like. It's about like $250 per unit, as it were. And I just went to a vintage consignment shop recently, and I got like 100 cassette cases for like $10.
Nice. Oh yeah.
Which is like usually I'm paying over $100 for that, and I also have a bunch of cassettes. So if people want like, I think when I do Boston Fig in December, I'm gonna also bring all the cassettes I gutted out of those cases and be like, hey, if you buy something, you get like the cassette of Carousel, the cast recording of Carousel. Pick whatever cassette you want out of the big box.
Yeah, in Boston especially. Are you in touch at all? I'm sorry, this is getting like very local specific.
Oh, I like local specifics.
Really quickly. Have you heard of Make and Mend?
No.
So it's a Somerville-based reused craft supply shop.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like an hour and a half out of Boston.
I see. Yeah. They're just good people to talk to because they get a fuck ton of donations, and I'm sure I haven't seen them have this, but they get a lot, and they do sell a few extra things besides crafts, but like that's like obviously their bread and butter. But something like cassettes, they definitely get as a form of donation because it's like, well, someone can use these because like no one's gonna listen to these anymore.
Right.
And so they'd probably be good both ways, where it's like people who would have the cassette cases in abundance and also probably be willing to keep the cassette tapes themselves to sell those.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking at little, whatever ways you can cut little costs here and there,
Yeah.
They're not
And I think just, when I see cool creative projects like this, I feel like the easiest way that they happen is like when there's some association with like a bigger organization. Like not that they're big, they're like they're a small shop, but
right?
They are fairly like organized at this point, and I feel like they get a lot of donations. So
yeah, shops are weird. Like I've had a weird amount of difficulty getting into like game shops. Weirdly enough. Game shops don't want to carry games.
Yeah.
Or I think it's like a different vibe, where people who are, I mean, most games are kind of like retro game shops, I think. And
yes,
being into retro games is not the same thing as being into games, in the same way that you might assume that someone who runs like a record shop is into music.
Yeah, I feel like if I wonder if you would do better at like bookstores.
That's what
like,
I'm thinking.
like small bookstores that sell
I was
zines.
thinking about it like some days ago, because there was a library that has merch by local artists, and there was also DVDs, and I thought, oh, maybe games would be cool here.
Yes, I mean, I think you could just like find ways to like get games. I mean, especially when your game is like literature focused. I'm sure you could like, hey, can I have my game up on the computer? You know.
Yeah,
There is
doing like a showcase.
Yeah.
Interactive exhibit sort of thing.
There is like, I think once again, Ash K has had better success in bookstores with doing that. Like there's some, you can get some Indiepocalypses in local Ontario dev games, and I think I forget which ones, but I think a couple of bookstores up in the greater Toronto area. I just need to like find the bookshops and comic shops that have the right vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Or I mean, it could be just like the dead mall near me that's reviving with small business. One guy was like, I might be able to do that, and just like putting them in like small spots and like finding spots to put them in. Because I think that is it's harder, I think, to do, and way less like proven than the kind of usual social media wish list, etc. Like your PR person checklist. But I think going back to like small efforts, like small but concentrated efforts, I think is like a way forward for just kind of like independent developers, because you can't really get priced out of that, which you can get priced out of like everything else.
I want to put you in touch with a local comic book store. That, like, not that we're like close or anything,
right.
but they're really cool because they run they've got a how do I put this? They've got a magazine that you can only purchase and view from a floppy disk.
Okay.
They're quite popular. And the other way is that you can actually use the Wayback Machine, and it basically like has a how do I? It's not exactly like a reader, but essentially you're downloading a reader to then be able to like install and look at the magazine. But they actually have like a decent viewership in there, like a single person owned. And anyway, I think that they would think that Indiepocalypse is pretty cool and probably would be down.
Right. I think it does feel more likely that like comic shop people would be interested in it. Weird as it is.
Yeah.
But I guess I have that.
The cross section between the bookshops, the indie bookshops, and video game shops is somewhere in the middle would be comic books.
Yes. The
right kind of nerd.
No, and it is. I do often find that more conceptually in common with like indie artists and other fields like comics and music than with the quote unquote like indie space within games, the capital I indie space, which does feel more business oriented. Because the thing that made me mad at the internet last night was, I think they were talking. First, I just hate that all these things. I don't think I've ever seen like a game development term that I didn't find extremely obnoxious for some reason. Like it all feels very adjacent to like business language, because people were talking. I guess there was discussion of nag lines, which is Something about that term annoys me. But
what is that?
It's when you're like hanging out in a place and Batman's like, I should check out that door, because Batman needs to check out that door in order to progress.
Oh, I see.
And,
yeah. Okay.
And because the thing I saw was someone being like, well, we have to. Don't you know that people don't pay attention to anything? Everyone's on TikTok at the same time. Well, I'm like, they aren't though. They don't and if they are, that's their problem, not the game's problem. Like I think this idea that you have to make things for like the worst possible audience member is just like a bad.
It's like the Netflix style of writing now.
Right. Making sure you're constantly.
Where a character always tells what it's doing, so it's daunting.
Right, and it's like it's polluting all art, as people are like, well, I'm not playing a video game. I am scrolling on TikTok and listening to a podcast while I guess I'm have a video game open. And it's like, that sounds like maybe you made a bad video game.
It's not engaging enough. Are you against nag lines as a concept?
I think so. I think I'm conceptually hardline. Not hardline. I'm getting close to being hardlined against it the more I think about it. I am.
That's fair. I mean, I'm like the most unobservant video game player, unfortunately. Right. Like, I don't like this about myself. I like to say to people when I go to conventions or anywhere where people are playtesting their games, I say to them, it's like, I'm the best player because I'm the best playtester because I need like the most hand holding.
Yes.
And like I will run into every hiccup that your game has in terms of like logic. And simply just because, like, I don't know, I think it's so weird because I'm such a perfectionist and I notice a lot of details, but I think that's what gets me distracted is I'm sort of like, well, everything's kind of shiny and different and new because it's the first time I'm playing this game. So I'm not noticing, like, the kind of subtle hints, like, if things aren't blasted with, the yellow paint trails, which I think is, like, another example of what you're describing. Like I don't know where to go.
Yes. Oh, I missed. I missed. I had something closed. I missed a very active chat while I was gone. I usually don't pay too much attention, but they were going at it.
No, for sure. Yeah, because I mean, it's hotly debated, especially I think in indie circles where people really want the story. Well, first they want their own game to be made well.
Yeah.
And I think there is definitely, I think, a true feeling that, like, if I have to put the player on what's that called, guide rails, but on if I had to put my game on rails, to at least in the beginning, to give the player like a tutorial, well, that means that, like, I didn't make my game very intuitive, and it's like, well, yeah, sorry, bro.
Yeah, but also sometimes I think it's fun to discover things. Like, I think we take for granted, like, someone not getting something immediately we take it as like being a bad thing, when sometimes, like, I had just fucking finished. I think of a lot in this context of having just watched the end of the 20th episode or the end of the 20th season of Taskmaster, of which there's like 30 different regional variants of. And that's an entire show about people learning rules and discovering tasks, And, like...
Totally.
We like that. Like, that's part... I mean, that's like... I feel like that's a part of play, is figuring things out. That I think it's, like...
When it's done well.
Yes. Right.
And hand-holding too much takes away that feeling of, oh, okay, I figured out how it works.
Right.
So you can't be anything else.
Yeah. My main point is just I only caution that, like, a lot of the time people's games just aren't, like, if there's not multiple ways to solve a problem, if there's not, like, many different things that can happen while you're exploring, like, if information to collect, because I think the biggest thing is that, especially if people are trying to make their games small, you don't have much to do, and you like if I get I love to explore and I love to try new things, but I think that's what gets complicated is that like I will get so sidetracked.
Yeah.
And essentially do nothing and essentially get myself kind of like lost, unable to really get new information on the game, or like you find myself in an area that's buggy, or you know, like what I'm trying to just like get at is that it's so much work to get a game to the place where you don't need the guidance.
Yeah.
I feel like it has a lot less to do with the players than the developers who aren't playtesting rigorously and finding like all the different ways that like the game is not entertaining when you do give players the chance to explore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not like we need guardrails as like a standard. It's just that to get the product to a place that it doesn't need it takes time that most indie developers just either don't have, or like a lot of indie devs just don't have that many friends or people willing to play test thoroughly, right? And so
yeah,
it's just
I am always so like I feel like I need my own scrolling LED when I talk to people that says, "Hey, I'm a passionate art guy, so I'm coming from an art guy standpoint a lot of the times." Which is, it is the difference where, like, yeah, if you're, a lot of the things I say make for bad products, a lot of the philosophies I hold in terms of like design, probably would not make you very much money making a game, but I am the occasionally loud kind of like art guy voice sometimes. In the same way that the opposite end, there exists a person on the biz dev spectrum who's like, oh, you need to play test your game into death till it has no life in it anymore. But it has a lot of checkboxes that people like.
I think that maybe when a dev designs something, like it's difficult to think about the perspective of a player. So maybe you have a clear idea in your mind, but you don't execute it like in the best way.
Yeah.
But you think, okay, it's so clear, but it's not for other people. So also that can be a problem.
Yeah, and I also am someone who likes being confused by things.
Totally.
I like confusing art that I don't get right away, and I like trying to like figure out what something's doing. That is the sort of, that's the nature of like, a lot of times where I'm getting weirder stuff that it has no, like, how many games in Indiepocalypse have tutorials? Like, probably like, I don't know, a handful at most. It's mostly, games that are just like, here's the game, what it is. Sometimes you don't need that because it's like, one often does not need a tutorial for a visual novel. It's You're advancing text, and most buttons that are connected to your computer will advance text within a visual novel.
Yeah. You just have to read.
Yes. If you got to teach people to read, I got to figure out something. But
yeah.
But it is. Yeah.
I come at it from like the perspective of, so like I have a big art background in that like my parents are artists, most of my family are some kind of, I shouldn't say my family, my chosen family, all of like my parents' friends and people who I grew up with, right? Are artists, and so I see, when does art become inaccessible?
Right.
I think is the biggest thing. Is that like you're trying to inevitably, you're following some biz dev advice when you're kind of approaching things from like, well, how do I make my game like the most playable, that it can be? But I think it's also like, creating a space where your game can be appreciated by a large amount of people, not because it's not like easily digestible, but because it caters to let's say, just like in my case, right?
Yeah.
Someone who loves to read, but sometimes doesn't have great like immediate processing, and so I need to read a message 2 or 3 times to understand what I'm looking for. And so like a nag line can be helpful because it's like, hey bozo, didn't you just read that you can't enter this room?
Yes.
Why not try somewhere else?
Right.
But introducing it maybe in like a unique and creative way,
right?
I think is like sometimes the best approach to get some kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah, because I think it definitely comes to like, intent. If you're making something like, oh, I didn't intend this to be confusing, then you're running into like a problem. Like, oh,
right.
But or I did not intend someone to like I did not intend it to be like this would be a space that you would get stuck in, and you're supposed to just kind of walk through and immediately see the problem there. You're trying to create like a catered experience, but because games are weird because you can't. It moves at the pace of the person controlling it. Right. So a lot of it is to kind of like move it toward a more strictly authored pace where you're like, oh no, I don't want people to be sticking around here forever, or I want to make sure they're figuring something out. And some of it is just like visual design has changed where, when you push more towards realism, you don't have, it's the kind of, we mentioned it last episode about how in animation, if something's less detailed, it's going to be interacted with. And that kind of like that visual language carried over to games to some degree too, of recognizing, oh, this isn't a background object. This is like a sprite in the environment. So obviously it can do something. But as visual design gets more cohesive to some degree, so to speak, or more like those stick out less.
Yeah.
I think that's where you get, your yellow paint, if you will.
Right.
But
yeah, I mean, there are different way to highlight different things. So yes, you have to figure out how to do it, but in a way that isn't too on the nose, that like a big arrow sign that interacts.
Yeah, right. A bunch of arrows point to a thing, and then a giant prompt that comes on your screen says, you can press X to interact with this. And you go, oh, thank you. It is a whole complicated thing, but I'm also, I've excised a demon from my body now. I no longer need to think about it. But it is, like, the difficulty that I often, where I always run into is the kind of more player-centric mentality feels like it dominates the space simply because, I think that's what most games are in the current day, or most games that are popular are very player serving, as all art is moving towards being very audience serving. So it's just kind of like games just kind of like caught onto a lot of bad trends all at the same time when they didn't have time. They didn't have times to like establish a healthy indie space, or an alt space, or whatever you want to call that, like underground space. I mean, it exists, and all the people who are doing it have been doing it forever. But it's just like, you think of the theoretical person who wants to get into the space. How do they get into it? Where do they look? And I think it's harder for that person to identify. It's like you said, it's those friend groups. And how do you find people who are friend groups? But it is all a lot of stuff. Video games, don't care for them. Done with them. Throw them in the garbage. Don't need them. But I'm trying to bring back a question. We'll see how it works. This is a question I think about personally, and I think into a pipe. Yeah, there's a pipeline of friend groups that is how people get into Indiepocalypse. I found that's why I like to ask that question, because you see the kind of, oh yeah, no, my friend, this friend was in it, and that friend was in it, and that friend said that friend was in it, and it's all friends of friends are getting into it, and then they say, oh, I'll try to get into it too. Zig and HP, a question I have, do either of you have, I guess this is semi-related to this, but a piece of art that you love, that you also consider to be unrecommendable or difficult to recommend for any particular reason?
Oh, this is difficult.
Right. That's why it's like, it is a difficult question. But
gosh, I guess it depends, like, why I don't want to recommend it.
Right. I mean, there could be any number of reasons. Because it's sometimes.
Yeah, I just talk about anything I'm obsessed at the moment with anyone that wants to listen to me.
Yes.
So I don't know. Maybe I don't know, because it's hard. Like, because I love trash movies.
Yes.
But it's not like it's bad. Like, it's bad, but so bad it's cool.
Yes.
So, it's not the same thing.
We need like, I think a healthy trash diet is very important for a growing and thriving person.
Yeah.
Totally. And it's funny because, like, I feel like, I don't really think of it this way, but I'd certainly, what most people consider private in terms of, like, their, like, lewd preferences, yes. I just totally share constantly online.
Yes.
It's kind of my bit. And so there's nothing like exactly like that it'd be too that would be hard for me to recommend. I tell any of my friends that it's like, oh, like this game that is super lewd in this very specific way. Yeah, like you can know that I'm into that. That's fine.
Yeah. No, I think you gotta get out there and like tell your friends that it's like, yes, this is right. You're both doing the Lord's work, as it were, of being the friend who's like out there. Yeah, I heard this. The world that like the solution to kind of heavily commercialized art is friends who want to tell you about the weird thing that they like.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's something I'm not thinking of though.
Like, the best music recommends are like the weirdest shit that a specific friend of mine has. Like, if I want to hear something new that I haven't never heard of,
yes,
like, okay, I know my person.
I that's why I like to occasionally meter those out to some degree on this show, where I'm like, let's put weird stuff on here. Who's ready for Casino Sounds? Which is an album I do really like. I think it's called Casino Music, but it is what it says it is. It's an ambient album that's 2 recordings of casinos.
That sounds really. I like. Yeah, Casino Sounds.
I've never.
I can't remember if it's Casino Sounds or Casino Music.
Okay.
Yeah, they are. Or is it Casino Music? Because that's not. Let me look at my collection. Let me search my collection. Wait, is it gone? What happened to it? Uh-oh. Is it off of Bandcamp now?
No.
Anyway, well, I will try to find this, because now I'm like, oh, Slot Machine Music. That's what it was. That's why. It's Slot Machine Music. I was worried that. Yeah, Slot Machine Music by Adrian Rue. It's 3 recordings of just like it's what it is. It's the constant humming and chirping of slot machines. And, they've done a number of field recordings or experimental, whatever you want to call this kind of recording style. Cool stuff.
Okay.
But also, I'm not going to be like, hey, fire some slot machine music in the car,
No, totally. And I feel like music feels like an easier one for me to be like, oh yeah, I really like this.
Yeah.
But I can't really recommend it because things like hyperpop as a genre in music has been a big inspiration for the music in my game. It's like the biggest thing that I've talked to my composer about, and we've definitely gotten places with it, but it took a while. And it's not something that I started listening to 100 gecs thinking that it was good music, because I was like, wow, this is a lot of noise.
Yes.
But at a certain point you listen to stuff enough and you're like, oh yeah, I remember I was in the car, I was driving with friends to Las Vegas for someone's birthday, and I was like, yeah, put on Get Got, which is a song by Death Grips. Death Grips, thank you. And they just were like, wow, this really is something. And I was like, I forgot where I was.
Right. Yes, you.
It's like an acquired taste.
Right.
That was me and my friend deciding one night that, Merriweather Post Pavilion is just a pop album. And I still stand by that it's basically just a pop album. But I think if you turned it on, if you went from pop radio to that, there is more of a disconnect that you realize when you're not so deeply in it, But I think you can, and I think that there's the thing you forget is oh, no, you just kind of get used to stuff. Whenever things are weird, you just kind of get used to them eventually.
Right. That is, and your perspective changes,
Yeah.
and suddenly things that you once thought were weird are like, oh, that's fine. But you do feel kind of alienated to some degree because your friends look at you and they're just like, what is this?
Yes.
It's cool, dude.
Yeah, just you gotta, and that's how they go, huh? And then they hear enough, and they're like, oh yeah, that's just, I like that now. Or they'll hit the one track that they like, oh yeah, that's.
You have to condition yourself.
Yeah.
And you only.
And it's kind of why it's always weird when people say art has to be this or that or whatever, because I think people are just more open to stuff than you think they are. And they're just their broad stuff becomes popular, but I cannot imagine there. I mean, there probably are, but that people only just the broadest, widest stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone has their more niche interests.
It's true. Yeah. I think off the top of my head, it's sometimes I forget what is niche in the moment.
Yes.
And it's only when I am thinking of bringing up something with a friend that I'm like, oh wait, yeah, it's harder to bring this up. One game that did come to mind that I don't think is really a deep cut, but I just feel the urge to share something. Is I mean, I think the biggest one that I can't even take my own advice, but it is so fun to just experiment with game jam games, and I think I tell people about this game, but I don't actually expect anyone to go off and play it, so I guess it kind of counts.
Yeah.
But I was in the Strawberry Game Jam 2025, which is coming up again in a few months, but that's a loot game jam. But one that I just thought was so creative, and so I bring it up all the time. That's just a really cool one. Is this game? Because I've never seen a game where you're playing a game you're playing like the main game while also playing a game inside of the game. And it's a game called like I'll pull up like the exact title in a second, but it's like One More Level, and it's a game where you're playing a video game, but you have to pee, and so you have to move your legs around so that you don't piss your pants while also trying to do this like very basic platformer. And so you're using both WASD and the arrow keys at the same time.
Yeah, I found it, but it wants me to tell you how old I am. I'm like, joke's on you. I'm never gonna do that. But yeah, no, there is like so much like small experiences, that I feel like is like important that gets missed. Like, yeah, something can just be like sometimes something being small is a barrier for people. Like, how, especially in games, I've definitely had people like, oh, I'm trying to, I want something meatier to chew on. I'm like, well, good art can be like 20 minutes long, or 30 seconds long. I think it's...
Oh, absolutely.
It's too easy to get caught up on, like, games, especially with, like, length. Oh, yeah. I did not run, I think, well, I guess if you don't make games, or I guess if you're not selling games, you can still publish the lewdest games you want on itch all you want. But also I think it was kind of part of the problem with the whole itch thing, and I mean the payment processors are going to be a problem, but I think definitely with like there were problems where people didn't know that one, itch's search sucks, and it has always sucked.
Yeah. It was so sad seeing some people be like, "Does my game take it down? Why can't I find myself?" And it's like you were never able to find yourself.
Right. It's like
You've always been through this.
I find games by like searching them in Google on itch instead of using. And also, they've always been super slow at like paying you. You have to.
Yes.
You have to.
Right, and that was a whole debacle too. And it's like, of course, when everyone's trying to take, it's literally the bank problem with like the fucking depression.
Yes.
It's like everyone's trying to take out money at the same time. Of course, it's going to take forever.
Right.
Everyone's panicking.
So I think those two things kind of combined and kind of sort of like exacerbated. Yes, they were exacerbated the whole like the problem of, but like I said, if you go on itch, you'll find plenty of not safe for work games still hanging out there, no problem. You've still got a Patreon link up.
It's true.
So like these things are like still around. But it's kind of like, it's just another reminder of like the precariousness of it all, And these.
I mean, we are used to think that internet is like an eternal thing, but
right,
website goes down easier than you think.
Yes, that's why. Just have your own website.
I mean, yeah, I was thinking like related to not safe for work stuff. Like these days in Italy, just passed a law that, I mean, it's kind of a very dumb law because they banned like 50 porn sites, but like what is 50 website? But and you have to enter your ID data to go on these sites.
Yeah.
And why would one do that? I don't know. I think I don't know how to explain this. So, but
yeah, and that also creates like a whole other.
a very important stuff on the internet. I don't
Yes,
know, like
no, yeah,
one of the main,
because that's exactly what I was when you said that. It's like, oh, that means that when there were data breaches, now they have your ID as well. They have now they have even more of your important information because all the websites require to you to have your ID and all your government IDs in there, and then you're like, oh yeah, now I have, which makes data breaches better targets because now you have more information than ever available to you.
Yeah. I appreciated when recently, I think now I'm forgetting. I wanted to say Virginia, but I don't want to say the wrong state. One state, another state, also in the United States. I mean, also made it that you had to get age verified to go to certain pornographic sites, and the sites just popped up a window saying like, "Hi, like we disagree," and with this ruling, and don't want to make your safety more insecure. Here's I don't think I think they're not legally allowed to recommend VPN services.
Right.
But the hint that I give like on GooningSimulator.com to the folks who can't because I made it so that you can't access the site in the UK.
Right.
Because that was such a big deal, and there's a lot of fines and whatever that they're threatening. But it says like you can't access it from this IP address.
Yes. Wink.
Wink. Because it's like no one, and even besides the security perspective, it's like no one wants to be like, oh yeah, here is my government name tied to this porn search. No one's gonna do that. No one's gonna do that.
Right.
You're specifically tricking children into being less secure online.
Yes.
That is all that this is doing.
Right, to going to like more and more dubious websites to like avoid the ones that are following the rules.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's essentially allowing more exposure to happen in essentially non-pornographic spaces like Marvel Rivals.
Yes, right, and it's part of the problem of the problem you get with like the stigmatization and the legalization of anything is people still want it, have to go to more and more dubious places to get it, but when you can just go to the store and get it. You're like, hey, I'm just gonna go to Walmart. I'm gonna buy some weed. There's no like you run into like less situation of like, I don't know who this guy. I met this guy on Craigslist, I guess, or whatever.
Right.
Rather than
I knew kids growing up who like would buy weed that was laced with other things.
Yeah. And
that shit's scary. It's similar when like you're getting explicit content online that isn't vetted, and there's anime all the time, right? That like shoehorn in the author's vaguely disguised fetish like halfway through it. And it's like, God, I didn't sign up for this.
Right. Or you just like or you're on a website that every single click is trying to give you malware.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, right. It's not like I want a regular website that doesn't give me any pop-ups. It's just a normal website, and I just live my best life.
Also, like you were saying at the beginning, I think, like where is the line between what is pornographic or not? Like in movies, it's in everything, like ads. So you have to ban everything or not.
Right.
We can like erase it from everywhere.
Yeah, it's the clear line doesn't exist once you remove real people from the equation. Where you go, oh no, these are people who are actually doing it. That means it's pornography. If you want to make a quick, easy line, But what about my little weird pixel people smashing against each other? It's all an infinitely complicated like problem that games are running into worse because they're immature for kids, culturally viewed as, where it all genuine pornographic or erotica just kind of gets lumped in with everything that happens to have nudity in it.
Yeah. There's, and it especially comes up in the conversation around art and making art for art's sake.
Yeah.
There's another game I'm aware of called The Void Rains Upon Her Heart, which is actually a Toho inspired game, as a callback to earlier. That the creator was actually connected to me, or someone connected us because they were like, oh hey, like your games are kind of similar, and I talked to them about it, and they're like, oh yeah, my game's not a porn game, but like for aesthetic purposes, like the angels that are in the game are partially nude, and so because of that, like I have to go through certain the Twitch streamer safe version has like mist that's like covering them,
right?
But they decided to not make that the official game, so that way they can still make it the way that they want to make it, which I think is really awesome of them to sort of put their foot down and say like, no, but this is the official game. You can do this version for the sake of socials and whatever, but like I'm still going to make the game out the way I want to make it, which I think is awesome, but just so rare because of all these restrictions.
Yeah, it is, right. And it's part of it is like, streaming. Where people expect I need to be able to stream things. I need to be able to. It is very weird because is a thing that it feels wholly like common in art. Of like, oh yeah, no, of course. I'm an adult. I'm going to watch the thing that has this movie has an R on it, because I'm an adult, I'm fine with that. And that's in theory what the point of the ESRB is. You slap an M on that thing, and hey, this means for adults. Adults show up here. But you never know. Like, it's just, I think games just have not shaken their for kids thing yet fully.
Yeah.
And I think it's just rough growing pains until they do.
Yeah, I don't. It'll be interesting to see like how and when that happens, because in Japan it's a different story, but in America, like we just have not there's no even like AA adult games do they happen at all? Right. Like there are publishing studios that are based out of America, but oftentimes they're even mostly publishing Japanese games for English speaking audiences.
Right.
So yeah, it's and I've talked a bit about this with some folks in the game dev space in general, and everyone, I don't know what the path forward is or what it looks like. There was one part of like Anime Expo where they were basically it was like Hentai Expo, where they talked a bit about porn games in general, but again mostly about Japanese releases and the occasional Western title that was like being funded through Patreon, but it's all grassroots, and
right.
I like that. It's part of why I got into it, is I'm like, oh, it's the Wild West, and I can make something of myself here without having to have like major backing or having to feel like I have to go to a publisher in order to make something happen. And so there's benefits, and in some ways I prefer that for the sake of not having strict guidelines, but for the sake of the industry as a whole, it's like I would love for there to be at least a bit more support.
Yes, and not be based on the whims of platforms. Then you go, if Patreon decides they change their mind, you have to hope that enough people move over to whatever the platform is fine. It's just like you're still very beholden to like a million different little publishers, and all of them agreeing to allow your work to still be there when it's, there is the vague understanding the internet is, it's a Wild West thing, but I imagine there's top level parental controls you can put on things, that like, because you can only like it's just so big, you know. And there's so much, and it requires, you know, it's the thing where it's an individual responsibility for each of us to make sure our games tick the right boxes or whatever.
Mm.
And it's a thing I think about a lot occasionally, about, you know, what if I, you know, like a filthy version, you know, Indiepocalypse After Dark. But I think most of those people do fine on their own. Like, it's also like,
I mean,
a fine-ish.
It never hurts. Certainly, yeah. There's a lot of there's like one really cool. I forget even like how I discovered their game, but their name is Story, but they obviously have like a longer title online. But you know, I think a lot of like the queer content is especially small. And so there's definitely a place for like having more publisher support, and not to mention that like all of the big publishers in the space, like I mean publishers in general, questionable.
Yes.
But I feel like especially so in this space, it's like much there's basically they basically don't do anything except have a curated list of games. And
right.
by that I just mean that, you know, people who've liked their games in the past will purchase this new one, and they'll find it because, you know, it's like being promoted on Steam, but that's basically it. They're not utilizing socials. They're not you know, doing that much extra. But I do know that like there's some more publishing situations like happening like over time, but yeah. Anyway, it's very, I think, little. There's a lot of games that I think I'm aware of, at least, that do essentially no marketing for themselves, and get by. But I think they could do so much better if they just had like a little bit, like a few more outlets, essentially.
Yes.
So I think there's definitely a place for it.
Yeah, there's. I think. I trying to slowly build out a healthier space where someone doesn't have to do like a lot of marketing, you know, does not have to get on and do like 6 videos a week, does not have to constantly be in front of someone so that to remind people that they exist every single day. But that is also, you know, perhaps a further away world. I think as people, I don't know. Social media is a weird thing. It seems inefficient. Not a fan of it. But yeah. So it's like, I remember somebody had asked me once, is like, what would be like a good Indiepocalypse for like kids? And I'm like, I don't know. Because like even when they're not like, all the games are not like adult in the traditional sense of, you know, there's naked people and guns and swearing in it, but they tend to be like more mature, you know. I think Indiepocalypse is something, if you're like in high school, it seems like the kind of thing you would love to have found. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think
to be like, oh, wait a minute, like, you know, when you like feel like you're like, when you get that feeling of like, oh, I'm growing up and I'm like just getting into art, you know, and you want to find something cool that your friends don't know about. That is what my goal is for that. That's the goal intention of being that cool thing. But like there is, you know, even our more serious, mature games also feel like a game that would come, like a TV show that would be like a third string AMC show that would come on to like after Mad Men reruns or whatever. Like they don't come off as mature storytelling so much as just guys make, this classic men making tough decisions equals serious art, because he had to think about it. He had to think about all those guys that he killed. He's like, oh, I'm sad about it or something. That's serious art. When you kill people and then the game tells you that you should be sad because you killed them, that's serious art. Anyhow, we're getting close to 2 hours. Do either of you, before we get into wrapping up and promotional stuff, have any non-promotional things you need to get out, or questions or statements before we fully start to wrap up? Perfect. The silence that I love to hear.
Yeah.
So I said, hey Zig, hello. If people are looking for your stuff, where can they find that stuff?
They can find it on itch. I'm called Zig the Dig, or my Instagram, or I mainly post on Tumblr, like all my art and other stuff. So it's always the same name.
Yes.
That's my handle.
I think it's come up the last couple of shows. I think Tumblr might be the last good website. There's something about it. Like, I think it's the way you can't interact with people easily on Tumblr in a way I appreciate.
I don't know. It's like where the awkward kids hang out.
Yes.
And there's I don't know. I like the atmosphere, and people are friendly, and it doesn't have that business feel that other social have.
Yes. Yes.
Nobody knows how many followers you are. You can just post your shit, and that's it.
Yeah. You have like share amounts, but like you gotta work to see comments. You gotta click on them, and a lot of things often do not have comments. Even just having that little, like, you have to click to be able to see comments feels like, I don't know, almost discourages them in a way, which is a good thing. I think we don't always need to have people like immediately interacting. But the social media side, HP, where can people find your stuff? We were talking about it. Where is it at?
Yeah, you could play my game through gooningsimulator.com. It's real easy. It also comes up in Google search.
Just the thing you need. Just the word of the thing you have.
It says what it is, and it is what it says. And it's also got it's kind of like my acting link tree, which is helpful. So a lot of my main socials are on there. I'm most active on TikTok and Instagram. I have a Tumblr technically.
Yeah.
I have a friend. I have several friends who love it dearly. I just didn't grow up on it, but I need to ask for a tutorial.
Yeah.
It's just another thing. I can't do it.
Yes.
And it's a lot of writing, and I'm not great at, like, I don't know, sharing my thoughts on paper as easy as I can. Just like film like a quick video of me talking for 10 seconds. I feel like it's like so much easier for me. That's why I gravitate towards video platforms.
Yeah, no, I am.
Yeah.
I am the inverse. I'm like, I love to be able to just type on a thing very quickly and get an idea out there and be gone. But
I think if it's a short idea, I'm chill with that.
Yeah.
But because like Tumblr's often very blog focused,
yes.
and that I can't get down with.
Exactly.
It's very complicated for me.
And it's not really like a video platform.
No. You can share videos, but it's just not as big.
Images or GIFs. Those are the gold stuff.
Yeah. Perfect. And then, of course, if you're here, you go to Indiepocalypse.com. It's where you purchase Indiepocalypse. That's my favorite place where people purchase it because I get the money right away. And it's actually cheaper there. But you can also, of course, go to pizzapranks.itch.io as well if you prefer to buy it through itch.io. And if you do things like buy like for instance, issue 62 here, Zig will get some money at some point down the road. It's the dream of the yearly, sometimes twice yearly $6 to $7 shipped through PayPal, transferred over, and you go, oh, look at that, a thing I submitted to. And if you would like to have your thing that you submitted to be included in that, hey, go to indiepocalypse.com/submit. It's where you submit your games to be included within Indiepocalypse. I said I was going to do a better job of advertising the patron drive this month, and I have not. I'm just bad at doing that, and partially because it feels like patronages are more meaningful. Like, I'm not asking someone to, hey, donate, not donate, but whatever, pledge $20. You pledge $20. The idea of Patreon is like, hey, you're committing to this for a while. So I like them to be more conscious money-making decisions and not spur of the moment purchases necessarily. But that's /Patreon, obviously. I think that's it. I think that's enough. Oh, Tape Market. PizzaPranks.indiepocalypse.com/tape. I think actually those are Indiepocalypse ones, but PizzaPranks.com/tape market is where you get a bunch of tape stuff. You get those little indie games, and I just added from the monthly club, added into the regular markets. I added, of course, the Candy Box Collection and Salad Fields. I keep calling it Salad Days, but I know it's Salad Fields. But Salad Days is a turn of phrase that exists in my brain. And then, also, so those two were recently added to the routine, the regular store proper, but also added, of course, are Silver Days and Necromancer of Nowhere. Friends of the show have been on a couple of times, which is the Standing Cat people, Necromancer. And Silver Days, that's just someone I had met at PRG, and they were like, hey, I know this person who made this game here. What if I did that with my game? And that's as easy as that. It's as easy as that if you would like to get your games published physically and mostly get sales through me going to events. But that said, that's the end of the show. I closed all my little extra tabs that are things I was looking at that were show related. Thank you all, Zig, HP. Thank you for being here. Thank you all out there for listening. Thank you, OBS, for presenting yourself so I can close the show. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.